From thrilling motorcycle chases to behind-the-scenes conflicts, CHiPs, 1977, was more than just another police drama, it was a pop culture phenomenon. For 6 seasons, Officer Frank Poncherello and Officer Jon Baker patrolled the highways of California, capturing the hearts of millions with their charisma, humor, and high-octane action. But what really went on behind the cameras? From shocking casting changes to real-life injuries and on-set rivalries, here are 20 things you never knew about CHiPs. Frank Poncherello, the iconic character from CHiPs, was not originally supposed to have that name. In the early stages of production, the character was actually called Frank Pontelli, a name chosen to reflect an Italian-American background. The show's creators wanted to highlight the diverse cultural landscape of Los Angeles, and an Italian-sounding name seemed like a perfect fit. However, everything changed when Eric Estrada auditioned for the role. With his charismatic presence, infectious smile, and undeniable screen presence, Estrada made an instant impression on the producers. His energy and natural charm were exactly what they were looking for, but there was one issue: Estrada's Latin heritage didn't quite match the Italian identity they had envisioned for the character. Instead of looking for another actor, the production team made a bold decision: they altered the character's name to better suit the actor. Frank Pontelli was officially renamed Frank Poncherello, a name that still carried an Italian flair but felt more authentic for Estrada. This seemingly small change ended up being a defining moment. Not only did it allow Estrada to fully embrace the role, but it also made Poncherello one of the most memorable and beloved TV officers of the late 70s and early 80s. In the end, the name change helped shape a character that would go down in television history. On screen, Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox played the ultimate crime-fighting duo in CHiPs. Their characters, Ponch and Jon, shared an unbreakable bond, always having each other's backs on the road. But behind the scenes, their relationship was anything but friendly. From the very start, tensions brewed between the two leading men, creating an off-screen rivalry that lasted for years. The core of their conflict came down to fame and recognition. Eric Estrada, with his charismatic persona and Hollywood appeal, quickly became the show's standout star. He graced magazine covers, attracted massive fan attention, and received more media focus than Wilcox. Meanwhile, Wilcox, a classically trained actor with a disciplined approach, felt increasingly sidelined. The growing imbalance in their popularity created resentment, making their interactions off-camera noticeably tense. By 1980, their strained relationship reached a breaking point when Wilcox got married, and pointedly did not invite Estrada to his wedding. This decision sent a clear message: their on-screen partnership did not extend to real life. While they remained professional during filming, their Cold War was well known among the cast and crew. Years later, they eventually made peace, but their behind-the-scenes feud remains a fascinating part of CHiPs history. Eric Estrada was never the type to back down from a challenge. Unlike many actors who relied on stunt doubles, Estrada insisted on performing his own motorcycle stunts in CHiPs. This decision added realism to the show but also put him in serious danger. In 1979, his commitment to authenticity nearly cost him his life. During filming, Estrada lost control of his bike while performing a high-speed maneuver. He was thrown off, landing violently on the pavement. The impact left him with multiple broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and severe injuries to his wrist and collarbone. The accident was so serious that production had to be paused while he recovered. When he returned, his injuries were written into the show, turning his real-life ordeal into part of Ponch's storyline. A year later, Larry Wilcox faced his own brush with danger. While filming another intense motorcycle sequence, Wilcox crashed, suffering a concussion. Though not as severe as Estrada's accident, it was a stark reminder of how risky their work was. Despite these close calls, both actors continued pushing their limits, proving their dedication to making CHiPs as thrilling and authentic as possible. When CHiPs premiered in 1977, expectations were high. The show had action, humor, and 2 charismatic leads, but there was one big problem: almost no one was watching. Airing on Thursday nights, CHiPs struggled to compete against more established shows, and its ratings were disappointingly low. Executives at NBC started having second thoughts. A cancellation seemed inevitable. However, instead of pulling the plug immediately, NBC made a bold move. They shifted CHiPs to a different time slot, Saturday nights. This simple change turned out to be a game-changer. Without the stiff competition from primetime giants, CHiPs suddenly found its audience. Families and younger viewers, who weren't tuning in on Thursdays, now had a chance to catch the high-speed chases and thrilling rescues. Almost overnight, the show's ratings skyrocketed. What was once a struggling series quickly became a Saturday night staple, drawing millions of loyal fans. This unexpected turnaround not only saved CHiPs from cancellation but also cemented its place as one of the most iconic police dramas of the late 1970s and early 1980s. Eric Estrada looked like the perfect choice to play Officer Frank Poncherello, confident, charismatic, and effortlessly cool on screen. But there was one big problem: he had never ridden a motorcycle in his life. And in a show where high-speed chases and daring maneuvers were a central focus, that was a major issue. When Estrada landed the role, producers assumed he was already comfortable on two wheels. But as soon as he sat on the police bike for the first time, it became clear, he had no idea what he was doing. Instead of replacing him, the production team decided to train him from scratch. He was enrolled in an intense 8-week motorcycle course, where he had to master everything from basic handling to advanced riding techniques. Even after weeks of training, Estrada still struggled. He had to take his motorcycle license test 3 times before finally passing. The irony? His character, Ponch, was supposed to be an expert rider. But behind the scenes, every smooth turn and dramatic chase was the result of months of hard work, and plenty of near falls. In 1982, something strange happened to CHiPs. As the show continued airing new episodes, MGM decided to re-release older seasons in syndication. But they faced a problem: how could they distinguish the reruns from the fresh episodes? Their solution? A small but baffling change: renaming the show CHiPs Patrol. At first glance, it seemed like a logical decision. Adding Patrol emphasized the law enforcement theme while making it clear these were older episodes. But there was one major issue that no one seemed to notice at first. CHiPs already stood for California Highway Patrol. So with the new name, the show essentially became California Highway Patrol Patrol, a redundant and unintentionally hilarious title. It didn't take long for the mistake to become obvious. Fans found the new name odd, and the network quickly realized their well-intentioned rebranding had backfired. Within a short time, the original CHiPs title was restored, and Patrol was quietly dropped. While the change was brief, it remains a quirky footnote in the show's history, a reminder that sometimes, a simple title is best left untouched. In CHiPs, the police cars looked just like the ones used by real California Highway Patrol officers. That's because they actually were. Instead of using replicas or custom-made props, the production team bought authentic patrol cars straight from the California Highway Patrol. But there was a catch: these vehicles weren't brand new. Due to budget constraints, the show couldn't afford the latest police models. Instead, they purchased older, retired units that had already seen years of service on real highways. Some of these cars had high mileage, worn interiors, and even lingering dents from their time in active duty. To make them look more presentable for television, the crew gave them fresh paint jobs, polished them up, and made minor repairs. While these budget-friendly choices saved money, they also created challenges. Some cars were unreliable, breaking down during filming. Others lacked the speed and handling needed for intense chase scenes. Despite these issues, the show made it work, using clever camera angles and editing tricks to make the vehicles appear just as powerful as their real-life counterparts. In the end, these old patrol cars became an essential part of CHiPs' signature style: authentic, gritty, and packed with action. In Season 5 of CHiPs, fans were hit with an unexpected change: Officer Frank Poncherello was gone, and in his place was a new character played by none other than Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner. But how did this happen? The answer lay in a heated contract dispute that took Eric Estrada off the show, at least temporarily. During negotiations for a higher salary, Estrada and the studio couldn't reach an agreement. As a result, he walked away, leaving producers scrambling to find a replacement. That's when they turned to Bruce Jenner, the Olympic gold medalist and a well-known public figure at the time. Hoping to bring fresh energy to the show, the writers introduced Jenner as Officer Steve McLeish. However, audiences never fully embraced the change. While Jenner had the athleticism and charisma, he lacked the chemistry and charm that made Estrada's Ponch so iconic. Before long, the studio caved, renegotiated with Estrada, and brought him back. As soon as he returned, Jenner's character was quietly phased out, and CHiPs went back to business as usual, proving that sometimes, replacing a fan favorite is easier said than done. By season 6, CHiPs was already facing challenges, but things took a bigger hit when Larry Wilcox decided to leave the show. Unlike Eric Estrada's temporary departure in season 5, this time it was permanent. Wilcox had had enough and chose not to renew his contract. His departure left a major gap. Officer Jon Baker, known for his level-headedness and strong partnership with Ponch, was a key part of CHiPs' appeal. Without him, the show needed a replacement, and producers introduced a new character, Officer Bobby "Hot Dog" Nelson, played by Tom Riley. While Nelson was meant to bring fresh energy and a youthful edge to the series, he simply couldn't capture the same dynamic that had made Ponch and Jon so beloved. Fans weren't impressed. The chemistry that had defined the show for years was gone, and ratings took a noticeable dive. Despite attempts to keep the series alive, CHiPs never fully recovered from Wilcox's exit. By the end of season 6, it was clear, the show had lost its spark, and its days were numbered. After Crocodile Dundee became a global hit, its filming locations turned into major tourist attractions. Kakadu National Park in Australia's Northern Territory, with its vast landscapes and ancient rock formations, became a must-visit for fans eager to experience the outback like Mick Dundee. The park's waterfalls, rugged cliffs, and crocodile-filled waters perfectly captured the wild beauty of Australia, drawing thousands of visitors each year. Meanwhile, New York City also saw a surge in tourism. Fans sought out the Plaza Hotel, where Mick hilariously experiences high-class city life, and the bustling streets where he navigates urban chaos with his signature Aussie charm. The contrast between the Outback and the Big Apple became a key appeal, making these locations iconic. Even decades later, both Kakadu and New York remain popular among film lovers, proving that Crocodile Dundee didn't just entertain, it put these places on the world map. When Larry Wilcox left CHiPs after season 5, the show needed fresh blood. Enter Tom Riley, the actor cast as Officer Bobby "Hot Dog" Nelson, a young, confident new partner for Ponch. Producers hoped Riley would bring new energy to the series, but instead, he brought controversy. Not long after joining the cast, Riley made headlines for all the wrong reasons. He was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs, a shocking scandal for an actor playing a law enforcement officer on national television. The timing couldn't have been worse. CHiPs was already struggling with declining ratings, and this incident only damaged its reputation further. Fans were unimpressed with Nelson as a replacement for Jon Baker, and Riley's off-screen troubles didn't help. While the show tried to move forward, the damage was done. The scandal became yet another blow to a series that was already on its last legs. By the end of season 6, CHiPs had lost its momentum, and soon, it was off the air for good. For years, Eric Estrada played a fearless highway patrol officer on CHiPs, but in 2006, he traded Hollywood scripts for a real badge. After decades of portraying law enforcement on screen, Estrada officially became one in real life, joining the police force as a reserve officer in Muncie, Indiana. His transition wasn't just for show. Estrada underwent formal training and took his role seriously, working alongside real officers to serve the community. But his law enforcement career didn't stop there. Later, he took on an even more critical role, joining a special task force dedicated to investigating online crimes against children. Using his celebrity status to raise awareness, he became an advocate for internet safety, helping law enforcement agencies combat cybercrime. It was a full-circle moment. After years of chasing criminals on screen, Estrada was now making a real impact in law enforcement. While he'll always be remembered as Ponch from CHiPs, his dedication to public service proved that sometimes, life imitates art in the most unexpected ways. Unlike most police dramas filled with shootouts and gunfights, CHiPs took a very different approach. Across all 139 episodes, firearms were almost never used. In fact, throughout the entire series, guns were only drawn 3 times, and neither Eric Estrada nor Larry Wilcox ever pulled the trigger. This wasn't an accident. The show's creators wanted CHiPs to stand out as a family-friendly police drama, focusing on high-speed chases, daring rescues, and clever problem-solving rather than violence. Instead of gun battles, officers Ponch and Jon relied on their motorcycles, quick thinking, and teamwork to handle dangerous situations. This decision made the show accessible to audiences of all ages, setting it apart from the grittier cop shows of the time. The result? CHiPs became a hit with families, allowing parents and kids to enjoy action-packed law enforcement stories without the usual Hollywood gunplay. Even today, this unique choice remains one of the most fascinating aspects of the show's legacy, proving that police drama doesn't always need bullets to be thrilling. Eric Estrada wasn't just a TV star, he became a full-fledged pop culture phenomenon. With his chiseled looks, confident swagger, and dazzling white smile, he captured the hearts of millions. His portrayal of Officer Frank Poncherello in CHiPs set a new standard for the cool cop archetype, influencing pop culture far beyond the small screen. One of the most unexpected examples. Village People, the legendary disco group known for their over-the-top characters. When creating their signature lineup, the group took inspiration from Estrada's on-screen persona for their policeman member. The tight uniform, aviator sunglasses, and charismatic attitude, everything about the character mirrored Estrada's iconic Ponch. Beyond music, Estrada's influence extended to merchandise, talk shows, and even cartoons. His face appeared on lunchboxes, posters, and magazine covers, solidifying his status as a household name. Decades later, his image as the ultimate 1970s TV cop remains unforgettable, proof that sometimes, a role on television can turn an actor into a true cultural icon. Randi was never meant to be a main character on CHiPs. Initially cast for a small guest role, she was just another face in an episode. But something about her performance caught the attention of the producers, and the audience. Her charisma, natural confidence, and on-screen chemistry with the rest of the cast made her stand out. Recognizing her potential, the show's creators made a bold move. Instead of keeping her as a one-time character, they expanded her role into a recurring one. Soon, she became Officer Bonnie Clark, one of the few female patrol officers on the show. Her presence brought a fresh dynamic to the series, offering a strong yet relatable female perspective in a male-dominated setting. Oaks remained a key part of CHiPs for 3 seasons, winning over fans with her charm and toughness. Her unexpected rise from guest star to series regular was a rare Hollywood success story, proof that sometimes, even a small role can lead to something much bigger. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, CHiPs was a massive hit, and like any successful show, it spawned a wave of merchandise. Action figures of Ponch and Jon quickly became must-have toys for young fans who wanted to recreate their favorite highway patrol adventures at home. But there was one big problem: these dolls didn't just age, they decayed. Due to a manufacturing defect, the plastic used in the figures began to undergo a bizarre transformation over time. Instead of maintaining their natural skin tones, the dolls' faces and hands gradually turned a sickly gray. The eerie effect made them look less like heroic police officers and more like extras from a horror movie. Fans, both amused and horrified, dubbed the phenomenon zombie disease. The issue became so widespread that collectors started to seek out these infected figures as rare oddities. Though the toy company never officially addressed the problem, it remains one of the strangest and most infamous blunders in CHiPs merchandise history, turning what was supposed to be a fun childhood collectible into an unintentional nightmare. The CHiPs theme song was already iconic, with its upbeat, fast-paced melody perfectly capturing the thrill of high-speed chases. But in Japan, the song took on a whole new life, thanks to a disco remix that turned it into a surprise hit. In the late 1970s, Japan was in the middle of a disco craze, and musician Yuji Ono saw an opportunity. Known for his work in jazz and funk, Ono took the original CHiPs theme and gave it a complete transformation. He infused it with funky basslines, energetic brass, and a groovy disco beat that made it impossible not to dance to. The result? A track that became a sensation on Japanese dance floors. The remix not only introduced CHiPs to a new audience but also proved how adaptable the show's music was. While American fans associated the theme with motorcycles and police action, in Japan, it became a party anthem. Decades later, this unexpected fusion of police drama and disco remains a fascinating example of how pop culture can evolve in different parts of the world. More than a decade after CHiPs went off the air, fans were in for a surprise. Ponch and Jon were back. In 1998, CHiPs 99, a made-for-TV reunion movie, brought Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox together once again. But this time, there was a key difference: the tension between them, which had once fueled behind-the-scenes drama, was gone. In the original series, the two actors often clashed off-screen, leading to well-known friction during filming. However, by the time CHiPs 99 rolled around, both had moved on from their past conflicts. Estrada and Wilcox reunited with a sense of nostalgia, and their on-screen chemistry felt just as strong as ever. Their characters, now older and wiser, found themselves back in uniform, navigating a modernized California highway patrol. While the movie didn't reignite the CHiPs franchise, it gave longtime fans a chance to see their favorite officers one last time. More importantly, it proved that time had healed old wounds, allowing Estrada and Wilcox to finally enjoy working together, this time, without the off-screen drama. Sometimes, TV magic and real life intertwine in unexpected ways. In CHiPs, Sergeant Joe Getrayer, the no-nonsense supervisor of Ponch and Jon, had a supportive wife who occasionally appeared on screen. What many fans didn't realize was that the actress playing his wife, Gwynne Gilford, wasn't just acting, she was actually married to Robert Pine, the man behind Sergeant Getrayer, in real life. Their on-screen relationship felt natural, and for good reason. By the time CHiPs aired, Gilford and Pine had already been married for years. Their genuine chemistry added an authentic touch to the show, making their brief but memorable scenes together all the more believable. While Robert Pine continued his long acting career, Gwynne Gilford eventually stepped away from Hollywood. Interestingly, their son, Chris Pine, would go on to become a major movie star, known for roles in Star Trek and Wonder Woman. Looking back, CHiPs not only featured thrilling motorcycle chases but also quietly showcased a real-life Hollywood love story. In 2017, Warner Bros. Attempted to bring CHiPs back to the big screen, hoping to introduce the classic series to a new generation. Starring Michael Pena as Ponch and Dax Shepard as Jon, the film took a completely different approach, turning the beloved police drama into an over-the-top, R-rated action comedy. Unfortunately, this gamble didn't pay off. Fans of the original series were shocked by the drastic tonal shift. Instead of the light-hearted, family-friendly charm that made CHiPs a hit in the 70s, the movie was filled with crude humor, excessive violence, and unnecessary raunchiness. Critics weren't impressed either, slamming it for weak writing, forced jokes, and a complete disregard for the original show's spirit. Even Michael Pena and Dax Shepard's chemistry couldn't save it. At the box office, CHiPs, 2017, was a complete failure. With a budget of $25 million, it barely made back its cost, earning just $26.8 million worldwide. For longtime fans, it was a disappointing attempt to revive a classic. Instead of honoring the legacy of Ponch and Jon, the film became yet another example of how not to reboot a beloved TV series. Decades after its final episode aired, CHiPs remains one of the most beloved police dramas of all time. Whether it's the unforgettable theme song, the daring motorcycle stunts, or the legendary dynamic between Ponch and Jon, the show left an undeniable mark on television history. Even with a failed movie reboot and various spin-offs, nothing can replace the original magic of CHiPs. Which behind-the-scenes fact surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more classic TV nostalgia.